What's up, guys? Back again with a update video on the Honda 125M. A couple reasons why I haven't done a whole lot on it or haven't been making any videos a lot really is I just started back to work the last couple months, well, quite a few months. I've been between jobs, so I've had the time to sort of mess around with stuff like this, but the last month or so I really haven't. Working 12-hour shifts and stuff, it's hard to get the time and the motivation to get going on stuff. But I had a couple people message me, watch the videos, the other videos in the series, getting this thing running after 26 years, and they said, oh, it'd be cool to take it for a ride or whatever. Well, like, one of the reasons, like I said, was the time factor, and the other reason was the last thing I needed to do to be able to take it for a ride was sort out these tires. They just wouldn't hold air. The front one especially wouldn't hold air at all for more than like 30 seconds. So I couldn't even get it to the end of the driveway and back. The back tires, they'd only hold air for maybe 10 or 15 minutes and they'd be flat. So what I ended up doing was I went on Kijiji, which is like Craigslist in the US, Kijiji in Canada, and I searched for Honda ATV three-wheeler parts, and I found a guy about 15 minutes away from me in the next province over that his ad just said ATV parts for sale. So I texted him, would you have a tire such and such a size? And he called me back and he said, I'd have something like that. Here's my address. Come on over and take a look. So it was pretty crazy. When I got there, he had a bunch of outbuildings, probably 3 or 4 older outbuildings, and he brought me into one, and it was filled with parts, plastics, tanks, tires, rims, anything you could imagine for these bikes. It was packed full, and we rooted around, and he found a couple tires that had some pretty bad dry rot and cracks, and was like, oh, those probably won't work for you or whatever. We'll go over to my other building. And we went over, and he opened up the door and stepped in, and it was dark, and he turned the lights on. And this was pretty crazy. This was a pretty large building, and it was packed from one end to the other with Honda three-wheelers, like all shoved in like puzzle pieces right from one end to the other. There was about enough room for you and 4 or 5 people to stand in the entryway by the workbench, and the rest was just all bikes. So that was pretty crazy. There was probably, if I had to guess, not exaggerating, there was over 63 wheelers packed into this, complete running. I don't know about running, but complete three-wheelers, not parted out or anything like that. And he had some more parts in that building, and he ended up finding me a rim and a tire. He wouldn't just sell me the tire. He said he wanted $40 for the rim and the tire. Being cheap like I am, I tried to beat him down, but he wasn't interested. He basically said, you can give me $40 for the rim and tire, or go without and try to find one somewhere else, which he sort of had me over a barrel, because it's not like Honda three-wheeler parts are super rare or hard to find or anything. And I did find a couple other tires, but I would have had to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours to get to them for $20. And what's the point? And it's like he said, this thing's mounted on a rim. He said it's been holding air in this building for over 2 years, and he bounced it on the floor, and it bounced like a ball. So I sort of took his word for that. I figured, the only other way would be to drive 2 hours to get an old dry rotted tire for $20, or buy one new. And I certainly wasn't going to put a brand new tire on this. The whole point of this thing was just to try to get it out of that building where it's been sitting for 26 years and basically get it running for free. Up until I had to buy this rim and tire, it pretty much had been free, other than the spark plug and a lot of my time. But anyway, I picked up the rim and the tire. I wanted to do a video on his bikes and take some pictures and stuff, but he was less than enthused to do that. This guy was pretty straight shooter, not much of a personality. Just wanted to do a transaction, and for me to get the fuck off his property, pretty much, is the impression I got from him.
Okay. That's the last time you run that mechanical asshole in here without an exhaust hose. I catch you doing it one time and you're out, you understand?
So I grabbed the rim and the tire and come back and put it on. The back tires, this one here, it had a hole right in the center of it. I found that pretty easy. I plugged it up, put a plug in it, and aired it up, and it was good. This one here, I couldn't figure out where it was leaking. I looked for about an hour and couldn't find anything. Finally, I mean, I even sprayed it down with soap and water, and I couldn't find any leaks. Finally, at the end, I decided to just spray some soap and water right down inside the valve stem, and sure enough, it started blowing great big bubbles. And I just grabbed the needle nose pliers and hooked onto the little stem inside the valve stem and pulled out on it as hard as I could to seal it up, and then jammed a valve cap on it. And it's been 5 days now, close to a week, and all 3 tires have held every pound of pressure I've put in them. So that was sort of the last obstacle in taking this thing for a ride. Like you seen in my last video, if you watched it, or one of the last videos that I did on this bike, I actually did finally get it running, and I was only able to take it up and down the driveway before the front tire was flat. And even in that little bit of distance, I noticed there was some trouble getting it to shift. And one of the main things that the guy that owned this bike said about it was, when it was parked in like 1992 or something like that, or 93, he thought that there was transmission problems. He didn't really remember what. So I was under the impression almost the entire time fixing this thing that it probably wasn't even going to move at all. I just wanted to get it running, and if it ran good, decide, do I want to, maybe throw a little bit of money at it and try to fix the clutches or the transmission or whatever wrong with it, or what do I want to do from there. But after getting it running in one of the last videos, it does move. I did experience a little bit of trouble getting it to shift, but I wasn't really able to give it any decent amount of throttle because I was just in my driveway, and the tire would go flat so fast that I couldn't even steer it after about 25 seconds. So I know it does move, and it did shift through a couple gears, albeit a little bit rough. But maybe if I can get it out to the riding park and somewhere where it's nice and open, I might be able to get it warmed up and work some kinks out, and maybe actually take it for a 5 or 10 minute ride and see what it'll do. So that's what we're going to do right now. We got the tires fixed up, holding air. I just fired it up a minute ago. It seems to be running pretty good, so we're going to get it loaded up onto the truck and head out to the riding park and see how we make out. Well, one good thing about the trike is I don't have to take my tonneau cover off or fuck around with ramps, which is mostly the reason why I don't take my quads out half the time. This thing, front end tucks right up under my tonneau cover, fold it up, and just lift it right onto the back of the truck. No ramps or anything like that. So that's cool. Hey guys, it's the next day. It's actually Thanksgiving Day here in Canada. I'm back out at the riding park that I filmed some of my other videos at here in Fenwick. So I got the little bike out here. I've like I said in the earlier part of the video there, I got the tires all sorted out. They're holding air and everything. So I already had the bike running for a few minutes, and for some reason it seems to be idling now. I couldn't get it to idle before. It's still pouring gas out of the overflow onto the ground, but it seems to be at least idling on its own. Maybe I didn't let it warm up long enough before, but one pull chokes now off because I let it run and warm up for a little bit. So it seems to be idling all right. It seems to be taking the fuel pretty good. The only issue still is it's still pouring fuel out of the overflow onto the ground there. I don't know if the float's not quite right in it or what's going on, but anyway, we're going to take it for a ride here and see how it drives. Definitely some clutch issues with this thing. It's not shifting right at all. It's drivable, but it's not staying in gear. It's not shifting right at all. Horse riding car. Lots of sign says ATV riding car, but I guess horses are welcome too, apparently. go, guys. It does actually run, so a little bit hard time shifting. There is something wrong with the clutch, but anyway, we'll be back there in a minute. Hey guys, so I'm back home in my garage. I didn't have a chance to film an outro to the video out there because, well, in the scene there earlier where you seen that little blue car sitting near the exit to the riding park, there was an old couple in that car, and they came up to me after I stopped filming the last clip, and they asked me where this road went, and they pointed down the road that I took the bike down earlier, and I said, well, it's a logging road. And they said, oh, well, we're just going to take a drive down there. And I recommended that they didn't. I said, there's log trucks coming in and out of there. You might get to a spot where you can't get over to get by, or to let the truck get by. And it's really for logging trucks and ATVs, four-wheelers and snowmobiles in the winter and stuff like that. And anyway, they decided they were going to go down there anyway. And they went down, and I filmed the last clip, and when I stopped and shut the camera off, they came back and said that their car was bottoming out and stuck down the road a little ways, if I could come help them. I went down, and he had got hung up on a large rock sticking out of the ground in the road just a little ways down, and had bottomed out. And I moved the rock out of the way, by his tire, and got his car moved over. And he tore a hole in the oil pan. There was oil coming out of it, leaking out of it fairly steadily out of the bottom. And I told him, and he started arguing with his wife about wanting to watch the ball game that day and why she drug him out here. And then there was another woman with him that was her sister, going on about how he was stressing her sister out, and it was gonna cause her health problems. And it was, I don't know, it was fucking retarded. Anyway, I get back and get back to the bike or whatever, and I was going to film the outro, and the car comes by, but it doesn't leave. He doesn't leave. He pulls in to where I'm parked, and they get out and they get a shovel out of the trunk, and they start shoveling in the ditch for like 2 or 3 minutes. And I'm like, well, I don't know what they're doing. I don't really want to film right now. They're right down there shoveling. And she comes back over to me, the sister of this woman and her husband, and she says, oh, could you come over here? They're trying to dig a tree out of the ditch. And I went over, and he was hitting rocks with the shovel, and she was going on about wanting this tree planted in her front yard, and he was asking me to help him get this tree out because he had just had a hernia or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, it was, like I said, it was fucking retarded. So I helped them. I pulled the tree out, and then I had to go for Thanksgiving supper at my mother's house, so I just decided to pack it in and, bring the bike back in. So it's a few hours later, and, the bike's back, and it made it for its first ride in 26 years. It definitely doesn't work like it should between the carburetor and the clutches or transmission or whatever's going on. It's definitely not perfect, but really, for sitting in that building for so many years and the very little money I spent on it, it is actually rideable. If you wanted to take it out for a ride, you can get on it and take it for a ride. So anyway, I guess that kind of concludes this thing again for a little while. I don't know what I'm going to do with it from now on. I'm just going to keep it here in my garage rather than stick it back in that shed out at the camp. Probably not going to get a whole lot of use since winter's coming up, but in the spring and stuff, when my buddy gets back from out west, we'll probably have it out at the camp and do a couple more videos. There's also other options we could do, like I said before, to put like a street bike engine in it or something different like that, or we can keep it all original. If you have a suggestion or anything, or any sort of a question or comment, leave it down below in the comment section. And if you like this video, check out the rest of the series, or at least some of the other videos in the series. And subscribe to my channel, click the thumbs up. I'll leave a couple links over on the side here to a couple other videos in this series, and if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe right down there in the corner. Alright, thanks guys.